Good afternoon, members of the media. Thank you for being here. Today, in the Meet the Directors interaction, we have 7 eminent personalities from who are having their films. Piotr Shazan, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, the director of Klezmer. Catherine Dussart, the producer of The Black Hen. Daniel Raim, the director of Harold and Lillian. Daria Schlifstein, the producer of The Summer of Frozen Mountains.
But I swapped the title
Kim Hee-jung, the director of Snowpaths. And Beata Gardeler, the director of Flocking. The way we'll go about this is that each of these personalities will introduce or give an opening remark. I'd request Catherine Dussart to start, since I think you have to leave shortly after this interaction. So thereafter then we can come to Piotr and then move down the dais. And then the floor would be open for questions. Would that be okay? Yeah, okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, I have to leave because I'm at the film Bazaar with a project by Aditya Vikram Singh Gupta, who is the director of Labour of Love, and we are preparing his second film. But I'm very happy to be there. I was here with Minba Durbam, who is a Nepalese director who made his first film, which was shown in Venice Critics' Day in September, and happily won an award, the Federer Award, and it has been in probably 20 festivals in there. He came yesterday, but he had to run to Tokyo, so he's sorry not to be able to be with you. The film is about 2 kids during the civil war in Nepal. The civil war happened in the 80s. It was a civil war between the Maoists and the government, and it lasted 10 years. And there was a lot of course, disappeared person, killed person, and a lot of person coming from Nepal to India to be a refugee at this time. And we are very happy to have a full house and a lot of interest for the audience. I don't know if you have some questions to ask about this film. And, yes, the film is set in the mountain where the director lived. It's inspired by the fact he lived at the same time when he was a kid. And he has 2 incredible non-professional kids. And the other cast is not professional either. The mountain is it's high in the mountain. It's 4,000 meters high, so it's a very north village.
Any more questions to Catherine?
Thank you.
Well, there's one.
Nepal, which is very similar to India, has a lot of film culture, but most of the films are like Bollywood, and Kalupati is a completely different film. So what were the things which were going in your mind when you decided to produce this? That it's a different film, and
yes, that's true. It's a very different film, and I was very interested to be part of the film because I knew I could help him financing it, and he really wanted to have the expertise of European crew so that he could improve what is not really very sophisticated in Nepal as a sound design and a lot of aspects of the producing. And when you arrive, because you're right, in Nepal there are maybe 100 films made every year, but they are so different that they are made with very little technical details approach. And So he came, I knew we could, I liked the story, I liked the topics, I thought it was very important for him to speak of this period. I think it's very important to make, to create an industry of such a type of art house film in Nepal. And there is a young generation who is very interesting to do it. And when Min arrived, he had a DOP who is from Kazakhstan, who won an award for harmony lesson, and we really teach him a lot. And all the sound was made in France, the post production was made in France. I am sure it is a good part of the quality of the film. And now we are going to set the lab with the Locarno Film Festival, which is focused on, not India because it was focused on India two years ago, but on the country we are surrounding India, and to try to create an industry in these countries with lack of...
So, any more questions to Catherine? No?
I guess it's a very important event for Nepal after the earthquake disaster. What was the reaction in Nepal?
Oh, it was it's a very important, event for Nepal, you're right. And Min has it been celebrated like by the government, by everyone, and yes. There was ceremonies for him, and it was the first film ever in an important festival. And even in a festival, and it was the first film, of course, to be awarded because it was the first. So it was absolutely extremely important. Yeah, that's right. And we hope it will give the opportunity to other directors to benefit of this movement, because it's always very good when you have a director to have you can create a movement and create a school, a kind of school, and.
He's running a film school, I think.
Yes, he's running. Yes.
I understand he ran away from a small village.
He ran away from a small village when he was 14 because he wanted to go to Kathmandu, and it became he created a theater company with friend. He was really young, and after now he's 30, still very young, but he's teaching and wanting to produce and to help his fellow directors to achieve their work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry to have been the...
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now I'd request Piotr to speak about his works, and he'll speak in Polish, and you'll be translating. His wife will be translating.
My producer speaks better English than me. Then she will be.
I will be the director today. Okay, so I'm a producer of Klezmer. This is his first feature, and also my first feature as a producer. It was finished in August. We had a world premiere at Venice Film Festival in section Venice Days. And then Klezmer was screened during Warsaw Film Festival in October. It's a very important film for us, and probably very important film for Poland, because it deals with a very delicate subject of Polish and Jewish relations during the Second World War. We show, probably for the first time in Polish cinematography, normal life during the war of folks. It's a war, but they live far away from the front lines, and their life is basically quite similar to what it looked like before the war. But of course, the main factor is that life of Jews is very different. So we show a group of peasants who find wounded Jew who probably escaped from the transport, and they deliberate what to do with him, and they have a big moral dilemma. Klezmer shows what human nature is, and also that the border between good and evil can be crossed very easily. I will ask Piotr if he wants to add something to what I said, because he doesn't want to admit it, but he understands everything. Okay, so if you have questions to ask.
Or should we go? I think we should introduce
Okay.
each one, then Andrea.
Okay, I'm the film editor from the movie Labyrinth of Lies, and it's fantastic to be here on this festival. And I've never been before on a festival like this because I'm just the film editor. And but I'm glad to be here, and I'm very proud of the film. It's a historical drama about the Auschwitz trials, and about a young prosecutor who wants to find justice for all the crimes who happened at Auschwitz. And it's also a film about the silence after the genocide, because nobody knows or seems to want to know about the genocide 15 years after the Second World War. And that's some part of the German history. We don't have a film before like this film, because nobody, even me, doesn't know before that there's so many silenced 15, 20 years after the Second World War, and nobody knows about the Auschwitz till the TV series Holocaust and the Auschwitz trials happened. So yeah, it's a film about guiltiness, it's a film about doubt, and I'm very happy to see that so many people like the film and impressed of this film, and yeah.
Before Daniel starts, I'd just like to mention that he's an Academy Award winner, and so if you could also tell us about the sort of research work that goes into making these films.
Sure. Hi, I'm Daniel Raim, as you see here. Correction, Academy Award nominated documentary filmmaker, which is equally awesome. Thank you. Let's see, so I brought here to IFFI Harold and Lillian, a Hollywood love story that had its world premiere at the Cannes Film Festival. And it's a great pleasure to screen it here in IFFI yesterday and watch the film with an Indian audience, and kind of going through my brain to think about the kind of cultural, what makes the kind of, you know, this story basically in the research that you're referring to is Harold and Lillian worked in Hollywood. It's a love story and about a creative and a profoundly loving and a profoundly creative partnership that lasted 60 years, about two unsung heroes of classic American cinema doing things in the movies that nobody's ever heard of, including storyboarding for Hitchcock and DeMille and Stanley Kubrick, and research. And it's a portrait of their work and their intimate life and what it looks like to elope to Hollywood in the in the 40s and raise a family, and the tension between having a life and being an artist. So I think that's the universal sort of theme, and the tension between those things that I hope that transcended to the audience yesterday. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kim Hee-jung from South Korea, and my film is No Pass, which story is one middle-aged alcoholic go to sanatorium and met their young beautiful nun, and there is something atmosphere, but he find out his past. So it's about when you are alcoholic, when you're not drinking, you have a problem with the feeling of reality with the fantasy. So you are not sure it is real happen or it's your mind. So it's about whole things. Yesterday I had a screening, and I think many Indian people left. Yes, it's serious and but yeah, yeah, it's very serious and not. It looks like nothing happened, but everything happened in mind and psychological. And it's. But I'm very honored to be here because I adore Satyajit Ray, and it's a spiritual country. So I think Indian people understand this spiritual theme. And in the end, it was left to audience, which they were very enthusiasm and asked some about story and about thing. It was really interesting. So it was premiere in Karlovy Vary Film Festival in Czech. It was because this film is a very low budget film. We have in Korea Jeonju International Film Festival. They give me sponsored money, and so whole budget is festival give me money. So it was premiere in Jeonju on May, and after that it was Karlovy Vary. After that was Sakhalin and China. In India is countries which is very spiritual. So in Russian people likes film because they understand how is alcoholic problem. It was it was a good experience. Go different country. Even somebody left in China. It was very many audience left. So, but I'm not touching about that because it's we have a totally different feeling about films. So it was a very pleasure meet you guys here, and I'm very glad. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Daria Schlifstein. In this project, I'm involved as a co-producer and a little bit of acting, although I'm not an actress. Well, I don't want to be very talkative. I just say that I represent a movie which was shot in Georgia. I hope everybody knows where it is, more or less. This is, one of these post-Soviet countries. To my taste, the most beautiful one. And the story is about love. Well, what can I say? I don't know. Well, it explores the. I mean, I have to say something more, yeah? Okay. Well, it explores the relations of between people of different ages, starting from puppet love to the real grown-up love after many years of marriage, and how over that period of time they look, how the people see love changes. So we just travel within that movie, like inside the stories of people of different ages, experiencing different feelings on a certain stage of love. And this is also in a beautiful atmosphere of Old Town of Tbilisi, which is the capital of Georgia, with all its specific atmosphere, friendly people. So, I love the movie personally. I hope some of you was at the screening yesterday, and I would really appreciate to know your opinion if you have seen it. Thank you.
Mentioned the name of your movie. So,
Summer of the Frozen Fountains is the name of it. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Beata Gardeler. I'm a director of a film called Flocking. It was premiere in Berlinale and won Crystal Bear there. It's I don't know if anybody was on the screening yesterday. It's a film about a 14-year-old girl that acclaims a boy in her class that she has been raped, and she reports the rape, and then the village she lives in is a small village in northern Sweden, and this village turns against her and her family instead of the boy. And I think I also try to explore the boy, or almost as much as the girl in the film, because I really try to explore the characters' complex feelings. I didn't want to have like a good and a bad personalities or anything like that. And I thought it was interesting to see the reactions in India, because I think this problems is all over the world, and but in India you have a lot of famous cases in this topic.
Now we can have questions.
I have a question for Beata. I saw your film yesterday. I think it won the best film at Berlin, right? It was a pretty amazing film, and I think what was important was what was left unsaid. You know, it was a very simple story, and there was very little dialogue, but it was so powerful. It reminded me also of that Danish film, The Hunt, but there it also had something to do. Since you compared it to India, I was wondering, was there any kind of gender bias, like everybody taking the boy's side and nobody taking the girl's side? Because it's, at the end of it, there are no answers.
Yeah.
But any particular reason why you took that stand?
Yeah, we were looking at some true events in Sweden, and also in other countries like Canada, for example. And I think, I mean, Sweden is kind of famous for being a super modern country when it comes to gender, and of course it is in some ways. But I think this kind of old pattern about shame and about wanted to be like part of the group is really hard to change, and I think it's the same fears we have in you can look at other, for example, like the Second World War or other things that people fears can make them do things that you didn't thought they would do, or also just to be silent. So, well, I wanted to explore that. And for me, I usually don't have so much dialogue because I work with pictures, and I think you can show reactions and feelings in a lot of different ways.
My question is to Daria. Yeah, I watched the movie Summer in the Frozen Fountains, and as you very beautifully summarized, it's about different layers of love, and I appreciate the whole crew for making such a wonderful movie. My question is, do you think that it really represents life in Tbilisi? Is it a representative movie of life in Tbilisi, the city of Tbilisi?
Yeah, thank you that you watched the movie. Yes, it is absolutely a contemporary Tbilisi story, which you can witness being there, living there, staying there for some time. It has, I mean, this is the way this city lives. It has this atmosphere of old times together with all the new tendencies. This is one of the reasons why I love this city.
Another question for Daria. What did you enjoy more, the co-producer's hat or the actor's hat that you wore in this film?
Georgian wine. Honestly, this is how my passion for Georgia started. Yeah, usually I'm driven, like I decide which country and movie to go according to my personal affections and tastes.
Do you think you would be seen on screen more, or did you enjoy that experience? Or are you going to stick to producing?
No, now I'm working on a project, the script which I wrote myself together with my best friend, and I don't think I will be starring there, but I hope it will be my director's debut one day.
Wanted to ask Daniel, I mean, that was a pretty amazing documentary you made, and to pick up people that not many have done so much for the American film industry. So there must have been, and I think it's part of a trilogy, right?
That's right.
So there must have been a huge amount of research that went into it, and maybe is it something that you aim for film libraries? I mean, who was your target, or has it gone to many festivals, schools?
Yeah.
Film schools. I think you want to show them in film schools in India.
That's right. So following Goa, I'm going to travel to 3 different cities in India to bring the trilogy. For the first time ever, the 3 films will be shown together. I think that we're starting off with a trip to the National Institute of Design, and then we're going to travel to Mumbai and then Hyderabad, in different institutes there. Research-wise, it's absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of research, but when I'm thinking of the word research, I'm thinking of more of, for me, research. The process of researching a documentary is actually bringing my camera and microphone and interviewing the subjects, and in this case, in the case of these 3 films, rather than having a talking heads format, which Lillian in her late life now was more of an interview, but with the other 2 films, and the research was going back with these filmmakers to the different locations where they shot their movies, and kind of these late life old codgers who had more spirit and passion than like me, my kids, people my age. But anyhow, the research was just kind of like making the film, if that makes sense, and of course dipping into kind of art, an extraordinary archive of artwork that was developed, and much of it was destroyed or thrown out. Or what a lot of people don't know, and that this film Harold Lillian kind of brings out, is that in the classic American golden age of Hollywood filmmaking process, the storyboard artist, who would be hired long before sometimes even a director, would be creating, you're talking earlier about that it's a visual art form, and they would be devising the images. And some of these artists that nobody's ever heard of, their work was destroyed because the directors didn't want anyone to know that they were working with this incredibly talented storyboard artist. Hitchcock was very forthcoming with his storyboard, with his process. And to kind of summarize the idea here, Alfred Hitchcock surrounded himself with genius-level artists, production designers, editors, cinematographers, and of course a storyboard artist that were his team long before the script was written. And for months on end, they would devise the scenario and work through all the details of the film. And Harold was on that team, and so was Lillian. So that was part of the research. Thank you.
If we don't have any more questions, then we wind up this. Okay. Thank you to all our guests on the dais for taking time off and coming here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. I almost feel like we should ask you guys questions. We should turn it around.
If anybody is interested in a one-on-one with all of the directors and producers, you could do that across in the other room near the stairs on the other side. Thank you.